Welcome to another episode of the Wealth Defenders, the show about getting your money right, getting to that finish line, making sure you have the retirement you've always dreamed about. Consumer advocate Bruce Rosenblum here with you. And of course, I am here, always here, with the man himself, the man who's been in the money game for a very long time and wants to help you get your money right too, Mr. Terry Cox. Terry, great to be back with you.
Good to see you, Bruce. How have you been?
Tell you, man, it seems like life is just so fast-paced these days. There's so many things that's vying for our attention. I mean, and just, recreationally too. I mean, I like to run too, so I like to go fast as well. I know you do too. You run too.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. I don't run as much as you do.
Well, but see, the thing is, we get it in consistently, though. You and I, we do it consistently, and that's what it's all about in the money game too. Making sure you're saving consistently, investing consistently, because the consistency, that's what pays off. And you mentioned that last show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
It. But it seems like folks want to get to the finish line early these days. And I can't blame anybody for wanting that because, I mean, it's a tough world right now. Life is tough. And to just get out of the rat race and get out of all this madness and just to sail off on some yacht somewhere, that's the dream, right?
Oh, that sounds nice, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the crazier it gets, the shorter the runway gets for a lot of people. And cash me out and get me somewhere, put me on a beach somewhere.
Oh, that's it. And this is not to say that some people don't like to continue to work, because I know there's plenty of your clients. They want to keep going. They've got passion projects and they've got things they love to do. And if that's what makes you happy, then by all means go for it. But I think there's many of us that are just saying, hey, let's get out of here. Let's kick back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But I think it begs the question, like, how do we do it? How do we get to the finish line faster? How can we run faster and do stuff with our money that is conducive to an early finish? So with that in mind, I want to hand it off to you, Terry. What are some strategies we can take here to speed up the retirement process?
Well, if that's what you're looking for, we need to start making the adjustment from a growth type of portfolio to an income producing portfolio.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you stop working, if you take an early retirement, you need to replace that income. And there's several ways that you can do it. You can buy, bonds. Bonds pay you dividends. Sometimes they pay them tax-free, depending on which kind you have. Dividend paying stocks. You can get yourself a fixed income annuity, which we like to call a personal pension.
Sure.
Those are very nice right now. A lot of those are paying bonuses, new money coming into contracts, which could elevate your income. So there are a lot of ways that you can produce income and replace that paycheck if you're ready just to throw in the towel and say, get me out of here.
Right. This is what it's about, generating that guaranteed lifetime income. Because I think it was Warren Buffett that said, if you don't learn how to make money while you sleep, you're going to work until you die. I think he did say that. If viewers think I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. But it's good advice, though. You got to learn how to make money in your sleep. Otherwise, you will work until you die. And with that in mind, it's all about taking advantage of every opportunity out there, like the 401k deal. I know there are people out there that don't max their contributions, and that's that's a major issue right there.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to max that out, and most of those 401k plans are going to give you some kind of a match, and that's free money. So you just want to make sure that you're getting that as well. But if you can say, okay, I want to cash out in 10 years or 15 years or whatever the number is, then you've got to start shoveling right now, and build up some cash. And then at some point, or build up some growth in your retirement plans. And at some point, convert that over to income producers. And then, there you go. If you can replace your paycheck, you know what that number is. And, let us know what that number is, and we can tell you how you get there.
Very nice. So the bottom line then, the question that we got to ask ourselves is how can we build income plans, retirement income plans that don't rely solely on savings? That's the question right there. If you can answer that, then you can finish earlier.
Yeah, and that's a great point that you just made, the difference between savings and income. Because if you have, let's say you have $100,000 in the bank, and you go and you take $10,000 out of the account, you now have $90,000. You've reduced your principal.
Right.
But if you can get something that's paying you a dividend, and let's say you can find something that's paying you 6, 7, 8, 10%.
Okay.
Now you're generating that income, and your nest egg is still intact. Yeah. So you think about that. Let's say you're generating $8,000 a year off of your $100,000. Well, over 10 years, you've collected $80,000, and you still have your $100,000.
Sure.
So that's what you want to look for. Things that are becoming more and more popular, at least in my book of business, is closed-end funds. It's kind of the sibling to the traditional mutual fund, but there's no active management inside of the portfolio. The management comes from guys like me saying, "Hey, Bruce, check out this fund." But those are considered like a flow-through security. So any money that's generated inside of the fund gets kicked out to the shareholders.
Really?
So there's a lot of those. I hesitate to throw some percentages out there because a couple of them are pretty high, and I won't mention those. But you can get 8 to 10% on a lot of those things, and that's the annual number. But they pay you something every month. You get a distribution every month.
It's funny. We've been talking for a long time. This is the first I've heard about these types of funds. So I really want to have a conversation with you about this after the show. But for you out there that want to know more about this investment tool, tdc.financial for more information. Terry's got your back on this stuff. And
absolutely.
I think we all got to stay abreast of these investment vehicles because some of them, as Terry says here, they are really advantageous to have if you are trying to get out of this rat race ordeal early. You got to be smart. And TDC.financial, it's all about keeping you out there smart so your money is always right here. So
you want to eliminate that debt as well. So if you can, let's say you want to check out in 5 years, 10 years, and you're carrying some debt and you're trying to do two things at once. So you're trying to eliminate the debt so that you don't have to worry about that when you stop working, and then build a nest egg that's going to replace that paycheck. You win. That's a great scenario to be in.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
This is all good information here. Thinking about investing for income, not just for savings, but for income. This is the foundation to getting a plan that helps you finish early then. I like this. But what about rebalancing things? Because I know this is also important too. You want to take what you have and make sure it's properly allocated, right?
Absolutely. So you definitely want to, you definitely want to de-risk before you step into retirement and stop working. Because, we hear talk about the Magnificent Seven, the Teslas, the Microsoft, Amazon, Google, all those, and those get all the headlines, but they're also pretty volatile. If you look at their 52-week numbers and see what their highs and lows were, those could be pretty big swings. And so you probably want to tighten that up a little bit and move into something, maybe a dividend paying mutual fund or the closed end funds that we were just talking about, or stocks, things that have smaller trading ranges so that you don't have to put up with volatility. So you de-risk a little bit. You've got things that are paying you income because generally those companies like the NVIDIAs of the world, the Teslas of the world, they're not, at this point in time, they're not paying dividends. So you're just trying to turn nickels into dimes when you're buying those at that point in time. But if you're swapping your portfolio out, you might want to keep a few of those just to keep some growth going in the portfolio. But if you're mainly focused on income, there's plenty of ways that you can transition your portfolio, build it into something that's going to produce income.
Now, let me ask you a question here. Well, two actually.
Sure.
What is the right mix for a portfolio? And then also, how do you know if you're being too risky or too conservative?
Great questions. So number one, you need to start with a risk tolerance questionnaire.
Okay.
That's a series of questions, 8 or 10 questions that ask you, what's your comfort level with risk and how would you respond in different situations? So if volatility scares you or you don't want any part of it, then we can back you out of that. So trying to figure out the mix of the portfolio is going to come down to number one, age, and then number two, your comfort level with risk.
Okay.
So I've got young guys that are risk averse, and they should probably in reality have like an 80-20 portfolio, stocks to bonds, but they're 50-50, they're 40-60, they're very conservative.
Oh, wow.
So, and then on the flip side of that, I have guys that are actually in retirement that want a 100% stock portfolio. I'm like, what? Come on, man. Let's.
Wow.
So, Yeah, so it all comes down to the individual, because investing is very personal, and all of us are different. We've got different goals. We've got different comfort levels with risk. So that's why our tool chest is so large, because we can meet your needs based on your comfort level with risk and your stage of life.
It definitely does depend on how you feel about things. I'm with you on that. But it's funny to me how you got some older clients that want more risk.
Yeah.
It reminds me of people who are elderly and they want to skydive for the first time. And I'm a big fan of that. I say, go do it. It'll change your life.
Yeah.
I think a life without risk is a life not worth living, because the risk is a challenge and the challenge enriches us. But,
Amen.
You can't have too much of a good thing there. You gotta be smart about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you think about what we've just gone through in the last, 2 or 3 months of this year. I mean, there's been so much volatility, and that's a wake-up call,
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of times when we're doing risk tolerance questionnaires, especially with new clients, and they'll say, because I think financial advisors have been guilty of talking in percentages, because it's a little benign when you're talking about it. So when you get a client that says, I can handle risk, I'm good for 20, 25%. Well, we put a number with that percentage. So based on their portfolio, if it's a $100,000 portfolio and they said they can handle 25%, all right, what happens if you wake up in 2 months and this 100,000 is 75? Well, hang on a second. Let's revisit this conversation, and maybe I don't want that much risk in my portfolio.
Yeah, right. And I appreciate how you let people know what they're getting into before they pull the trigger on any kind of big swaps or big trades. That's important, because I mean, I'm reminded of when I got into skydiving many years ago. I don't do it anymore, but I used to be into it. I got my license, and I was trained by a guy who was a certified sky god. He had almost 1,000 jumps. Great guy. Wow. But we talked about base jumping one day, because base jumping is a more risky form of skydiving. You jump off of bridges or buildings, and the free fall time is very, very short. And his name was Gary. I said, Gary, would you ever base jump? He said, absolutely not. And this shocked me, because, again, this guy, he had done everything there was to do in the skydiving realm. He was a certified professional who had seen everything. He had handled every malfunction. And he, the fact this guy was turning down base jumping, it surprised me. I said, why, Gary? He said, Bruce, there's no backup in base. You have no recourse if things go wrong.
Wow.
There's nothing you can do. One mistake and you're dead. So that hammered home the point for me that base was not something to mess around with. And I think it hammers home the point for a lot of these riskier investors. You need a backup plan. Otherwise, when something like the tariff snafu comes out of, manifest out of thin air, you're going to be left holding a bag you don't want to be holding. And that's not good.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we get surprises all the time. You think back to when was COVID? Was that 2020?
2020. Guys, it's hard to remember, right? 2020.
Yeah. So on whatever that was, the third Friday of February, nobody knew what was going on. Everything was just fine and dandy. And you wake up Saturday and you turn on the news, you're like, wait, COVID, what's that? Yeah. And then the market's in a free fall come Monday, You
never know what's going to happen. So it's good to be with somebody who can get you that backup chute, and so you can get bailed out if things get really rough out there.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to be aggressive, that's fine. But let's talk about what percentage of the portfolio we can really afford to be aggressive with.
Yeah, right. Right.
Because number one, the most important thing is making sure that your income needs are met, especially if you're retiring early. And there's some things you need to consider if you're retiring early and all you have are like IRAs or 401k plans.
Yeah.
Because if you take dollars out of those prior to 59 and a half, you're going to be taxed, penalized, maybe both. So if that's something that's sitting in the back of your mind, you want to have some money that we call it non-qualified money that's in a retail account that doesn't have any IRS rules or regulations on it. And then that way you can freely get to that money when you want it.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned Roths because I want or IRAs because I want to talk about IRAs and Roth IRAs because it seems like there's a way to mess with IRAs so that you can make more money faster. And I would love to get the scoop on this from you. How can people out there mess with IRAs to get them closer to the finish line faster?
So with the biggest difference between an IRA and a Roth IRA is how they're taxed.
Okay.
So you put money into a traditional IRA, your money is going to grow tax deferred. And then once you get into retirement, you're over 59 and a half.
Yep.
You can start taking withdrawals penalty free, but that's still taxable income. Money that goes into a Roth is going to grow tax free.
Yep.
And then when you're 59 and a half and you start taking money out, it comes out tax free. So the difference is with a traditional IRA, you're getting a deduction on your taxes in the year of contribution. You put money into a Roth, you're not getting a deduction.
Okay.
So that's kind of a good way to diversify your tax bill. But if you want to retire early and you start bringing taxes into the equation, you go, okay, so when I take money out of my IRA, I'm going to have to take a little more out to pay taxes. Depending, and your tax bracket, 10%, 20%, you can do the math. Yeah. Well, if you're in a 20% tax bracket, now if you're taking money out of a Roth, you don't have to account for an additional 20% to pay taxes. So that's going to give your Roth some longevity as well.
Now, with this in mind, is there any should anybody not be doing a Roth IRA? I mean, what's the value of the traditional IRA if the Roth gives you all these benefits the traditional doesn't give you?
It depends on if you need that tax deduction.
Okay.
But I know that the standard deduction now is quite high. So, and people aren't itemizing. So, that's why I like to bring CPAs into the conversation when we're trying to figure out the ideal, But it's a lot of times now what's becoming popular is the Roth conversion, where people are like, okay, I'm X number of years from retirement. I need to get some money out of my IRA and into tax free. Yeah. So they'll convert all or a portion of their IRA into a Roth. That is a taxable event.
Sure.
But you're paying taxes now to never pay taxes again.
They're right. And this is that nitty gritty money management stuff that I would never want to attempt myself. I would want a pro looking over my shoulder doing this with me riding with them. Because my friend tried to do this, and we talked about this a while back, Terry. My friend, he tried to do this himself, and he jacked it up, and he ended up paying taxes on the back end. It was not good. It was a 401k to a Roth conversion. And he should have talked to a professional beforehand because he thought, well, I'll do it myself and see what happens. Bad idea.
And he probably did the whole thing.
He did the whole thing. Yes. Yeah. He did the whole thing. It was a bad lesson for him to learn. Yeah. And I hate that for him because he could have pocketed way more cash and not mess with all those taxes. It was tragic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 There's so many things you have to be aware of, especially when you're in retirement. Yeah. And you start taking your Social Security. So now your benefits are set, right? Because you know what your income level is. And if you go over the income levels and you bump yourself into the next tax bracket, that's going to have implications the following year on your Social Security and your I get Medicaid and Medicare backwards. Yeah, but that's going to be affected as well. And I'll give you an example. I had a guy who had been with me for a while, and he was retired, and I thought I knew where all of his money was. It was all with me. He didn't have any other accounts.
Okay.
So one day, like the middle of the week, a Tuesday or Wednesday, he comes strolling in and he hands me a check for $70,000. And I said, where did you get this? And he had some savings bonds in his safe deposit box, and they had all matured and they weren't paying him anymore. So he cashed all of them in. And I said, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you got a problem. So yeah, he was, after I explained it to him, he's like, well, can I take it back? And I'm like, no, you already cashed it. so yeah, he was not happy for the following year because he was paying more taxes on his Social Security, and it was kind of a mess for him for a year.
Right. And the mistake he made here was cashing him out because not realizing the tax hit he would take doing all that stuff.
Yeah, push him into the next tax bracket.
God. Yeah, see.
There's so many things to take.
Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of our viewers out there, talk to Terry before you make any big money moves, because you might be doing it wrong. In fact, you probably are doing it wrong if you don't know about. If you're like me, you don't know anything about this stuff. I tell you, it behooves you to get with a professional who can steer you in the right direction so you don't lose out on anything.
Yeah, after nearly 2 decades, I've seen quite a bit. So
Yeah.
I can help walk you through a lot of things.
Well, I know we've run the race here on the show. We're coming up to the finish line here. Anything else we could tell the people before we hit that ticker tape right there, that finish line, and about getting to retirement faster here?
Yeah, if you're thinking about it and you're ready to start putting a plan together, let us know. Give us a call. Send us an email. We talk about this every show. We set aside some appointments every week for the viewers and listeners. So give us a call. Let's have a conversation. All of our initial conversations are complimentary. So let's get you a plan going and get you up and running.
That's right. Number is on the screen right now. Also, the website, tdc.financial. tdc.financial. Go there. There's a wealth of services available on there. Terry is manning the helm on everything there. So he's got your back, the wealth defender himself. He's got you covered. And also, with that in mind, make sure you subscribe to us. This podcast airs regularly, and we're all about helping you get your money right. This is retirement planning for the people, isn't it, Terry?
That's right.
Yeah.
So and especially if you're looking to retire early, let's talk about that, because when people have those kind of dreams, that excites me. And when we're both excited, that's when the relationship is really good.
Ooh, love that.
Yeah.
Terry, great show, man. Appreciate the conversation.
Absolutely. Always good to see you, and we'll catch you next time.
Absolutely. Well, Terry, this is Bruce signing out. We will see you all next time on the Wealth Defenders.
All right. Thanks.